You ever wonder about the people in family photos, or ever try to ask who these people really were? Every face is a narrow escape or a love story that almost didn't happen. Your family stories are hidden in plain view. You just haven't accessed it yet. There are versions of these rebels and dreamers before life told them who they needed to be. And I'm not talking about the shiny stories everyone knows. I'm talking about the soul-crushing experiences with heartbreaks and real loss. You got to preserve these stories now. So contact the VietnamStoryBank.com today. No polish, just raw, recorded, beautiful history that makes you sit up and hold your breath. We dig it all up, record it, and hand it back to you. Safe, unerased, untouchable, and unforgettable. Don't let silence have the last word. Go to VietnamStoryBank.com today. Make sure your family's stories are recorded.
Welcome to the podcast, the Vietnamese podcast. I have Ethan Kelly. He is also known as Úc Việt. Thằng Úc Việt is your handle. Welcome. I really enjoyed the content that you put out.
Thank you, bro. Thank you so much for having me. I was really excited when you reached out because, I've seen your content many, many times, especially on Instagram. So, I'm excited to be here.
Same here. I've seen so much of your stuff. Let's talk about, real quick, let's just jump into it. You got a star on your shirt, and I want to call attention to that because, most of my listeners, most of my audience, we belong to the Vietnamese diaspora. And for so many years, I am so awkward around the conversation of the flags, the three-stripe flags, the yellow star flags. And then we were just talking about that a little bit before we got started. So I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I have a good a different aspect again, because I'm obviously fully Australian. I have no Vietnamese family, no links prior to 2019 to Vietnam in any way. So when I came to Vietnam, obviously the Cờ Đỏ Sao Vàng was the only flag I had ever seen or known about. And then obviously as I came to know more about Vietnamese culture and history, and I worked in Australia with Vietnamese people. So these were people who had come by boat to Australia in, the 80s and whatnot. So I really got a really non-biased view of the whole thing. Like, I didn't have anyone tell me you can't do this or you can't do that or you can't wear this or you can't wear that. I had just had people share their stories with me. So, and to be honest, first I had people who had fled Vietnam and got to Australia in the 80s share their stories with me. So I had that really like, wow, trying to imagine what that would have been like and hearing their side of the story where they'd lost properties, they'd lost generations worth of they'd lost everything really. The particular people that I worked with at the time. So I had that kind of whole thing. And as bad as that was to hear and everything, I mean, I'm at the time a 24-year-old kid in Australia. Like you can't relate with that, being an Australian and not having any idea. You hear it and you go, wow, these stories are fascinating. Really fascinating stories, and really again hard to connect with, but also it kind of helped me to. It was the precursor to everything else I learned about Vietnam. So I learned that, wow, okay, there was this really, really huge thing that happened. I mean, it was an upheaval of the country as it was. And, at least 50% of the people, in the South and in some of the middle regions and things like that. And then I came to Vietnam, and then I started posting content online and gaining, all my following. I have maybe 300 to 400 million views a month. More than 99% of those views are in Vietnam views, not Viet Kieu or other Vietnamese communities. So then I had the opinion of those people, which is very, very, both sides can be hostile. I must say it's a very hostile view. Like, it is either this one or none, like piss off, So I really saw both. And, I even had trouble where I had posted something in Australia with one flag and then posting content here with others. And for me, I've always got away with it because they're like, oh, he's Australian. So whichever side of the fence you're on, they're like, oh, he probably doesn't know, But to be honest with you, purely from my perspective, I was born in 1992, and as far as I'm concerned, since I've been alive, this is the internationally recognized flag for the most part, aside from obviously the Viet Kieu community overseas. So To me, I never really went, oh, I shouldn't wear the internationally recognized flag. Well, I understand all of that. And I worked for years with people who hated it, right? But at the same time, since I've been alive, it is the internationally recognized flag. Whether I like it, you like it, someone else likes it, it's just, it is what it is, right? However, people who still recognize the yellow flag with the three stripes as their flag, I've never at any point gone, oh, well, you shouldn't do that. Or, you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty, and I guess maybe this is an Australian thing too, is like, whatever your way is, like, you do your way and I'll do my way. It's very, yeah, I've never thought at any point like, oh, he shouldn't wear that or she shouldn't wear that. But what I do find really, really jarring is the extreme hostility from whichever side. It's not just from one where they're like, F you, you can't wear this. And I'm like, oh, I thought like you can do whatever you want and I can do whatever I want. So yeah, from my perspective, I think now in the younger generations, there are a lot of people who are just kind of like, well, look, I don't like yours, but whatever. We're all Vietnamese at the end of the day, And certainly my children who are Vietnamese, or at least half Vietnamese, that's the way they'll be taught. Is, well, at one point in time, this was the flag. Since my children have been alive, this is the flag. But I teach them a lot of things about, and we watch a lot of documentaries and things like that about the history of Vietnam, because I think it's really important for them to know. And they speak fluent Vietnamese too, even though one of them is just over 2, one of them is nearly 4. They speak fluent Vietnamese as well. So yeah, I think it's all important. And for me, I've always felt like I dodged bullets the whole way through it because I'm not actually Vietnamese by blood. But yeah, I really appreciate whatever anyone's stance is on it, because it's their stance, and I have my own and everyone has their own. So, but I've also had the 4-hour conversations with like 80-year-old women that I knew very well and worked with at the time in the Vietnamese community of Brisbane, where they'd told me, the horrific stories of what had happened at the time. And some of the stories are hard to, it's not hard, it's impossible to really comprehend. You like how being born in 1992, nothing like that has ever even been a thought in my life. We've lived in a very safe time and a very lucky time. But yeah, I was kind of really lucky to just get the whole picture really early on into my my dive into Vietnamese culture and everything. So yeah.
Can you wear that shirt in Australia?
Yeah, look, I wear many shirts with the red flag in Australia, not by not intentionally any particular shirt, just I have a lot, and I have a lot of friends give me a lot of shirts and they might have a red flag or something. To be honest, I don't even notice. It'll be someone else who'll say, "Oh," but no, never in real life have I had any hostility. But I mean, I'm a really big person. I'm like nearly 2 meters tall, so maybe they don't. But no, look, honestly, if you're just a good, respectful person, I don't think no one's going to go, well, you're doing that to spite me or anything like that. And like I said, I've noticed a lot in the younger generation, whether they like the yellow flag or the red flag, they're very accepting of the other side too. I mean, put it this way, they might even think, oh, geez, that guy's a dickhead or something, but they're not going to go out of their way to say, oh, you can't do that. It's a much more accepting vibe than probably what it used to be when you were a kid in the Vietnamese communities in America and everywhere else. It was probably a lot more hostile back then.
Still, yeah, it's still not okay to wear that an hour from where I live. That you, no matter who you are, you wouldn't be able to wear it and get away with it.
Wow.
Yeah, you wouldn't. It would be very difficult. I think, and we have a lot of international students that come from Vietnam that have to contend with this. And just for the record, I'm a second generation. I was born in the United States, but second generation Vietnamese. My parents were first generation. I'm second generation. The yellow flag is the flag of my family, but we are living in I'm 50 years old. We are living in a new day and age. And I think that I will never forget the lives that were lost on my family side and all the men and women that served in the South Vietnamese government. But at the same time, I do see a change in the in the representation. I think there's a lot more Vietnamese that are coming from Vietnam that are coming to live in America and beginning to kind of blend in and understand what, what the sort of the hurt was and the history behind the flags. But I think eventually, the flag, the historical flag of the South, will always be remembered for a certain group of people. But the international symbol of Vietnam today has and probably will remain the red flag for a very long time.
Yeah, I think. Look, I think definitely. With whatever you are, wherever you're from, or whatever your history was, there's always parts of history that you can't let go. I mean, look at the Aboriginal people in Australia. Even like that's a not too dissimilar issue to the one that we're talking about now, and it never goes away. That's for sure. It never goes away. It's always for those people in particular. It's always going to remain. It was such a huge trauma, such a huge trauma. So, but yeah, no, I think for me personally, like I said, I didn't even consider the flag was on this shirt when I just put it on. I just wear whatever shirts I like. And recently, the Vietnamese were playing in the under 22 championship, and I was wearing this shirt, supporting the boys. So, but yeah, I wanted to I wanted to come on here because firstly, I don't do any media with American or other kind of Vietnamese channels, but not in Vietnam. I do heaps in Vietnam. I have to grow my mustache and hair at the moment for a big one that I'm about to do as well. I've done a few TV series with VTV as well here, but I've never done anything like for a Vietnamese based show with speaking English. So,
Oh, trippy. How come you just never haven't been invited, or you have intentionally stayed away from it?
No. I'm pretty open, man. I do whatever, whenever as long as I have the time, and that's where it's. I've done SBS in Australia a few times and stuff like that. Yeah, I love sharing because I have a pretty cool story from the beginning as well. With like my relationship with Vietnam, it was very like duyên, like tất cả đã duyên từ đầu luôn. Really like really fate. Fate. It was fate. So I love to share my story, and also I love to hear other people's stories as well. But yeah, I guess just not many people invite me. Firstly, purely because there aren't that many publications. Like you got you guys, and in Australia we have like SBS, and as much as they give it a good crack, it's not the biggest thing out there.
Yeah, it's I think there's multiple reasons why as well, because I think when you do sport the red flag yellow star, it's hard to invite you on to these legacy media channels, right? Like in America, we have like a handful of Vietnamese legacy media. There's no way they can have you on and go, well, they're gonna have to ask you, can you take your shirt off? That's first thing they're going to do. But for me, I'm an independent person. I'll cut a little, I'll get a little flack for this, but it's part and parcel of the work that I do. But I think that for me, I want to be able to cover every aspect of people that are affecting the culture, the Vietnamese culture, both inside Vietnam and outside of Vietnam. And I think you're doing both. So here we are.
Well, look, put it this way. If you watched all of my content, particularly my content in Vietnam, where we do a lot of fun, entertaining content, a lot of charity content in a fun way, and a lot of things, you would never have a thought towards any flag, whichever type. You would just go, wow, this is so cool. Then you see the flag and you go, oh, well, it's okay because they're a respectful, decent person. They're not, and they're in Vietnam, and that's the flag of Vietnam right now. You know what I mean? There's nothing outwardly hostile about it or anything.
I mean, you're in these like rivers or ponds cleaning up the trash, and I've driven by thousands of those in the 25 years I've been going to Vietnam, and I know exactly what they smell like. And just you in there, and I think to myself, I wonder what the viewers are thinking, right? Like, oh, this guy, this guy's just showing off. This guy's just making content. But look, if we could start there, if we could even have anybody jumping into those polluted waters, and just like, because who knows what kind of toxicity is actually coming out of that stuff, and for you to risk your life and be in those, oh my god, it's like it reminds me of Dirty Jobs back in the day.
Yep.
Guy, yeah, I forget his name right now, but Dirty.
Bro, I remember that show.
Yeah, you jumping into really just biologically hostile environments to clean out the gutter and clean out the ponds and
well, let me tell you about this story, bro. Let me take it back. So we had just moved to Hưng Yên in Van Giang. It's outside of Hanoi by about 30 minutes. And we're just cruising around. We're going to do some content, some videos. We had some ideas. And then we drove past this huge cemetery where, again, in Australia, we don't have that. It's like huge, like, the really big gravestones, and they'll have the whole family like in the same little thing. And I just went there and I didn't record any of the actual tombstones. I was just recording a video just saying about like my perspective as an Australian. I've never seen that. It was crazy. Like they're like houses in there. You know what I mean? And I had just done that, and I'd come out and I noticed that the road was really filthy, and I went, oh man, this shouldn't be, like if it was my family and they'd be like, oh, this road is filthy. Like this needs to be cleaned up, It's not just any road, it had a huge cemetery on there. So I thought, oh, okay, I'll clean this road up. And then as we were walking back, I was doing a video and I said, all right, I'm going to clean all this road and whatever. And I was walking back and I saw the river next to it, and it was just like putrid. And I was just like, oh. So I was like, all right, we'll come back and we'll do this too. And I knew I couldn't do it, right? It's too big. The water is disgusting, like really, really disgusting. There's the stinky rivers, then there's that river. And I went, you know what? I'm just going to do it anyway, because firstly, I'm an Australian guy. I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. We're hardworking people. And I went, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And because I knew one thing is people would go, oh, he's doing it by himself. And, the Vietnamese nature is, well, let's help each other, So it just sparked up. And on Facebook, these videos get like 5-6 million views. They're huge views. On Instagram, I don't really get much, or I don't post as much either. But on Facebook, it was huge. And then you see all the comments and they're like, guys, let's stop wasting stuff in this area. And then heaps of people in that community of Van Giang, they were like, hey, where are you going to be? I'll come. And there was heaps of people, like hundreds and hundreds of people in my inbox, saying, we'll come. So, and then I just said, after we've finished, Lunar New Year and all that sort of thing, I'll let you guys know. And then, so there'll be plenty more content with that. And just with that particular area, I went, oh man, you can't just leave this road like that when there's, all your family is resting place, So, but that's how it happened. And then prior to that, we did all sorts. I actually went swimming in another river. It's very similar to that, because I'd said if Vietnam loses, I'll do it. And then Vietnam lost. I can't even remember. I blocked the game mentally from my mind, but I had to go swimming in there for 10 minutes as well. Yeah, we got up to plenty of fun stuff out there.
That's the beauty of the internet. That is truly the beauty of the modern life that we live, is that you can affect change hearts and minds of people in ways that are unimaginable before the internet. The inspiration that you can bring hundreds of people out to help clean up the environment is mind-blowing. And I say that because I think we can affect change and positivity one video clip at a time. I realized that this year, 2026, year of the horse, I'm like coming in hot, and I just want to create more positivity, because the world is just so full of negativity, and we can do something so different. I think we can really, we can make a positive change.
Bro, you're right. And another example of this, like one video, that's all it takes. And then one more video, and then one more video. That's every single thing you do is building up into that, whatever direction you wanted to go. And we don't have money, right? Like my family comes here, we're just a normal family. We just, to be honest, sometimes we're the opposite of having money when we come here. And anyway, but I really love to just do videos of giving back, and it's never crazy amounts. Never. It's like whatever we can afford, we just do it. Right. And I did a video and I was giving, old ladies flowers. And it was really funny because I had to triple check, am I allowed to give these flowers as a gift, or are these flowers for like dead people? Or, I had to learn really about what flowers are for what. Then I went and I didn't post in the video that I was giving money. I was just posting giving flowers. But if you really, really look, you can see every single person. I gave them like a fat little roll of like hundreds and 200,000s. And what happened is people were commenting on it going, oh, you need to give money. You shouldn't give flowers. Why wouldn't you give money? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, whatever. This is the internet, right? This is what we deal with on a daily basis. So another one that I had already recorded but hadn't uploaded yet was we went and we just bought heaps of meals, rice and pork and whatever else at all the little vendors, like all the gom tam, like two dudes cooking. We're like, hey, how many meals can you make? And they'd be like, fuck, 50. And we're like, okay, when? He's like, come back in half an hour. So we come back, get 50 in like big plastic bags, and we put them on scooters, bro. And I posted on Facebook and I was like, hey, if anyone's in this area, come help me. Like, I need to do this. No preparation. I was just like, all right, I got time. Let's do it now. And then I ended up with about 10 people with scooters. And we just had bags and bags of meals just loaded onto these scooters. And then we went and just gave them out. We went to some really, really kind of high density homeless areas in Ho Chi Minh City. And there was like, it was a huge eye opener. One of the most life-changing events I've ever been a part of, because I've seen homeless and I've seen people doing it tough, but I've never seen 10,000 within a minute appear. Like it was crazy. This is at like 11, 12 p.m. In under the bridge going from District 7 into District 3. I can't remember the name of the bridge. I don't spend much time in Saigon. I'm mostly in Hanoi, but we went down there and there was, children my kids' age sleeping on the road and looked like they hadn't eaten, like looked the part. And I went, that was heartbreaking as it was. And then we'd stop and we'd start to give food out. And within 2 minutes, 3 minutes, it was just like, it was dangerous. Even for me, like I said, I'm a big dude. I felt like really like in danger because too many people. And we had girls that had come and, like tiny girls, like 20-year-old girls had come along with their partner or whatever. And I was just like, this is not safe for these dudes. So, and then since then, we still do the same thing, but we kind of do it a bit more like get in, get out, because otherwise it gets too hectic. But what I was saying is I've maybe done it 10 times, right? And it's maybe only cost me, every time I do it, maybe it costs me $2,000, let's say, for example, right? But since those videos, every time I do a video, there'll be a company who's like, hey, we'll do a sponsored post. We'll give you $5,000 or we'll give you 10,000, and they want me to just go keep doing it. And then they be a partner of it, like as in terms of me advertising for them. And I went, wow, imagine if I'd done it. And those videos, let's say they might've had an average of 2 million views each. Imagine if I posted 1,000 of those over a 2-year period. How much awareness and how much support we could possibly get. But I thought, no, I'm not going to do anything right now. I'm going to stop it all until I figure out, okay, what can we actually do that's going to have a lasting impact rather than just going to get meals for the night? Because that was the takeaway from it is I felt good in the moment giving people food. I felt like, wow, I'm helping this person right now. And then when I left Vietnam that trip, I just cried because I was like, oh man, I don't know. I love this place so much, but I just can't think of how I can solve that problem or even how you could make a dent in that. It's so vast. And to be honest, money's not the problem. It's too big. There's too many people. And I just thought there has to be something, even on a minor scale to begin with, there has to be something I can do that can provide a longer term solution for some of these people. So that's what I've kind of been amongst all my projects trying to work out, because it's fucking heartbreaking, man. It's really heartbreaking.
Do you know Chris Tran Travels?
Yeah, I know Chris. Yeah. I love his content.
I love his content. It sounds like you guys are both sort of like in the same space of helping, using the leverage of the media, the corporate sponsorship. But to hear you say that it's really not putting a dent in the infrastructure, and I am pretty sure this is for the United States as well. This is for, I don't know Australia well at all. I've only been there once, but how similar this is to just impoverished communities that, you know, we can't really do anything to help because it's just so far beyond our reach. And you might be able to help a few thousand people at a time every year, but it is a very tough image to kind of like digest.
Well, look, if I can just share a bit of my story, it might help you to understand a bit more where I'm coming from. Because to some people, they might go, "What? An Australian guy with no Vietnamese blood?" And I never even studied Vietnamese, right? I just learned it from just working with people. And I mean, I can read and write to a very high level. To some people, that would probably be strange, but at the time, it was in like 2018. I had just lost my company. I was very young. I was doing very well. Like I was killing it. Then I lost my company, right? So lost all money. I had a fruit wholesale company, and maybe in the first year turned over about $6 million. Like did really well, and then by the end of the second year, just through being young and not managing the company properly, just had to liquidate the company. So effectively, I'd lost everything. I'd also just separated from my son's mother. And I was just in the lowest point of my life, really, really terrible point. And then luckily I had been working for the old people that I mentioned earlier, the Vietnamese people. Prior to that, I didn't even know what, you know, and just, it'll sound terrible, but in most countries like Australia or whatever, at least when I was a kid, we didn't know the difference between Vietnamese, Korean, Chinese, or anything like that. We just knew, well, this is this Asian culture, you know, this is just an Asian thing. There was no education about any of it until I had found my way to Inala in Brisbane. It's the Vietnamese community in Brisbane, right? Anyway, these old people that I worked for, as harsh as they were kind of like family to me at the time, you know. And they said, "Hey, we're going to go to Vietnam, but do you want to come because like we need you to like help us get around, you know, get on the plane." You know, they were very old, and I was like, "Wow," because I could not afford a trip at this time. I even had to borrow money just to spend there. I remember it was the lowest point of my life. Like I was really extreme depression, just terrible time. And I came over here with them, and it was from that moment that my whole life changed, because what I did is I went to a really remote community in a mountain in central Vietnam, in Lam Dong. And the way that they lived was just crazy. It was insane. They were like a 90% trade-based community. The kids didn't have phones. You know, it was really like stepping back 100 years, what felt like stepping back in time 100 years to me. And it was the most beautiful experience of my life. And then it was from that moment that I continued learning Vietnamese, again, just learning in my own way. I didn't study. I just learned through music and other things like that. And I had such a desire to come back here. And I thought, well, if I'm going to come back, like I want to be able to speak Vietnamese. And I learned through just posting content, live streaming and all those sorts of things. But it was from that moment that I came here in my lowest of the lowest point, and I saw that the generosity of Vietnamese people. Like I couldn't go past a house without someone offering me food or offering me to come in and drink with their family in their private dinner time. You know, I'm like, it was such a foreign concept to, you know, an Australian, I can assume even an American who hadn't been part of it. You just go, what do you mean? Like, oh, you need this, here it is. You need like food, here it is. And everywhere I went, they wouldn't accept money. They wouldn't take it. They're like, no. Nah. And I felt like really uncomfortable. Like, well, you just gave me like $50 worth of food for free. I have to pay. And they're like, no, you can pay, but you can never come back. And I was like, what is going on here? And then I went working each day in that community, growing corn and growing beans or picking coffee, just as an experience, just living like them. And I don't know. I just had this. I remember I had a call with my mum, and she was like, "How's it going over there?" And I was like, "I'm going to move here for sure." And she's like, "Oh, you know, you've only been there for a few days." Like, no, I'm going to move to Vietnam for sure. I love it. And I just felt this real pull to Vietnam. And then that was before I'd even met my wife or anything. And then I came back to Australia and, you know, started putting my life back together and started building on social media. And I now have an English school with over 500 students, and I have, you know, my gold button for YouTube and all that sort of thing. But it was all from that trip, that couple of week trip. That's what it all stemmed from. So in that short, brief time, I spent time in Saigon then, and also in Lam Dong. Vietnam just really captured my heart, and could be a lot to do with the trauma I'd just gone through in my own life and then coming here. And I don't know exactly why, but from that moment on, I just fell in love with Vietnamese culture. So,
Ethan, for all the audience that have never heard you speak Vietnamese, I just want to say, and I want to comment on your Vietnamese. You speak with the Northern Hanoi accent, flawless. The words that you use, the vernacular that you use, is so precise. The idioms that you understand, I could clearly understand. I could clearly hear what you're saying, and know that you have probably the reading and writing skills, because the depth of understanding what you're saying is just so natural. So I just wanted to let the audience know that if you all have a chance, check Ethan out on his Instagram page, because you could hear and be inspired. I think that's the most important thing, is like to be inspired by somebody who learned Vietnamese, very, very late in life, and to speak it with that precision. I think it requires this blind faith that you're going to move there one day, right? That's what
yeah.
I think. You can only do what you did if you just like, I'm moving here one day, and I just need to make sure that I speak it the same way that the locals speak it.
You know what? There was two main things that drove it. The first thing was that I started posting content about it, and people would laugh at me, and people were like, "Oh my God, you sound shit. You can't say this, you can't say that, you're saying it wrong." And I just didn't care, because I had literally just lost it. I just had a real ego shattering experience. So I just didn't care. I didn't give a crap. I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, I just stopped caring about everything. And that's what allowed me to move past that period. That's where a lot of people get to. And they're like, hey, I know a lot of vocabulary, but I'm too scared to talk. And it's like, well, then just give up. Give up or just do it. There's only two ways. Just give up or just fucking do it, because you have to get through that phase. And then the second thing was that you hear a lot of the Vietnamese ladies, they'll say, chắc kiếp trước mày là người Việt, đúng không? Là kiểu không, chưa từng có thằng nào mà không học mà biết tiếng Việt như vậy đó, đúng không? Xong rồi mình nghĩ là, yeah, I think somewhere along the line, I had some Vietnamese family or something, because it was, although I say, I learned in my own way. I listen to music and I just hang out with people. In probably 1 year, maybe a bit more than a year, I could speak, read, and write from not knowing it at all. Like, it's pretty crazy. If I was to learn even an easy language like French or Italian or something now, there's no chance I could be as fluent with that as I am with Vietnamese, and they are nowhere near as difficult as Vietnamese. So I can't really explain it either, but it was mainly but the content, when you keep posting it and then people keep commenting about it, it's just this constant loop. And that's what really kept me going with it. And I couldn't stop at that point,
But let me ask you something though, Ethan. Speaking of the kip chiu kip sao, right? And what that means is, this whole karma business of reincarnation, right? This is what these ladies are alluding to. There must be something also beyond. Okay, if I was to record myself in my head, mentally visualizing the language, there are also contextual markers that I can feel in my body, in my heart, that this shit's really familiar to me. And that's why all of the vocabulary is soaking in. So I wanted to ask you today, that had to have been happening as well. Because if you're getting this stuff in under 1 year, there's got to be some like quantum stuff happening where you're like, this is a really familiar pattern, and I'm understanding and soaking this up. Because if I'm not getting French and Italian or German like this, but I'm understanding Vietnamese this way, it might really be something kip chiu kip sao, right?
It might be, or also it might be that I have extremely freakish pattern recognition. Like, I'm not the smartest guy. Do not mistake me for a smart guy, but it's just this weird thing. I just look at it and I just get it, and I hear it and with Vietnamese, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like you feel 50%, the other 50% goes in your ear. Like, I would notice even when I couldn't speak it, I could still get what they were saying to me. Does that make sense?
100%.
Whereas English and things like that, it's not the same. It's just a different thing. But yeah, I guess with the language and luckily they now have, it's like a Latin alphabet, Latin based alphabet. When I teach English, I say to people, learning Vietnamese, if you knew neither of the two, learning Vietnamese is far more logical, far easier than English, because it shows you how to say it. Because literally someone was like, hey, say that word again. And they're like, cha. And they're like, okay, that sounds like that. And they literally, that's how the current Vietnamese alphabet was designed, right? It's so much more logical than English.
There's a precision to Vietnamese that English does not have. And
correct
about English is imagine like you're listening to American rap music, and there are so many deviations of the meanings and the way things are pronounced. And that's just one sliver of American English. But if you put all of it together and you're trying to learn it formally, there's just so much going on. The imprecise way that Vietnamese is English is spelled out, Vietnamese has very clear rules and they don't deviate. There's no synonyms. There's no same word that means a million. Well, no, not synonym. The other way, which is one word could be spelled many different ways, but pronounced the same. And vice versa can happen too. One spelling, the same word can be pronounced differently. It's bananas. Like when you think about American English, it's just wild.
Well, bro, you teach English and then try and explain to someone how do you first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Show them the word sixth, and they'll be like, "What is that?" And then oh mate, it's. I hate teaching English, especially to people who. I mean, I teach English. That's one of my full-time jobs. But it is so hard to teach people coming from not knowing it. If they already know the vocabulary and you've just got to really help with pronunciation, beautiful. Very fun job. But if you've got to teach them from the start, they're like, why is it like that? I'm like, I don't know, just do it.
So Vietnamese is a really it's quite easy. I think for the Western ears, the tonality is the most difficult part. But once you get the tonality down, you really drill down on the tonal side of it, the tonal aspect of it. The logical rules are very like it's you're staying in one lane constantly. There's rules that are very defined.
Yep. Well, it's really funny as well because my accent, I noticed you said it's like a Hanoi accent, right? But if you speak long enough with me in Vietnamese, you'll see my accent is all over the place because I didn't learn from one person. I learned from mostly at the beginning, mostly people from, Minh Tây, Gan Thơ, Sóc Trăng, Bạc Liêu, all these areas in this far south. Then what happened was I started doing TikTok every night for like 4 hours. I would stream on TikTok, right? And it was at that time that my Vietnamese became very, very sharp like it is now because all night, 4 or 5 hours every night, I was streaming and it was mostly with people from Hải Phòng, Hanoi, Thanh Hóa, all those areas kind of out of Hanoi, right? Out of the kind of Hanoi region. And that was where I learned I already knew before that, hence why I had a big enough following to do what I did, but it wasn't sharp. Like now it's sharp. People go, how the hell have you not lived here for 10 years? I've been here for a month. And they're like, what? Like it doesn't, they're like, how? And I'm like, oh, no. Like I knew from when I was in Australia, I learned fully in Australia and they just can't believe it because learning with those guys and just the way I am with particularly with Vietnamese language, like I said, it's just like it just clicks for me. It didn't at one point, but then one day it just did. And yeah, I just all night you're like sharpening the sword every night, 4 to 5 hours. And then also the other thing was comments on there. I'd have 20 to 30,000 live viewers watching. The comments are going like this, and then you just get so fast at reading. I wouldn't say I'm on the level of reading English, but it's almost the same. And to be honest with you, I probably use Vietnamese more than 50% of my day, speaking, reading, writing, messaging, posting on social media. I probably use Vietnamese more than English. Yeah. So that's right. But that's what it was, is I would stream with all these guys, mainly from the north. Just at the time, my circle on TikTok was again, I didn't choose anyone. That's just the way it went. But if you speak long enough with me, you'll see I'll still say many things kind of with the D or Z, like, yeah, Viet Nam, instead of Vietnam. But then it's all over the shop. But I guess mostly it's kind of Hanoi, kind of a Hanoi accent. And I feel like for me at the beginning, when I started hearing that and speaking with that, I felt like it was more in a straight line. Whereas down here, right, I'm in Sóc Trăng right now. I just showed you before. There's kind of their way of speaking. You can go to Bạc Liêu an hour away and there's differences in it. Then you can go to Cà Mau or you can go to, Cần Thơ and there's differences. There's many, they're only subtle, but there's differences in every single area. Whereas I felt like that Hải Phòng, Thanh Hóa, Hanoi, all those areas up north, I felt like, at least me as a listener to it at the beginning, it was more like, oh, everyone speaks the same thing. So it was just easier for me at the time to understand. When they'd say it, I could write that word. Whereas in Minh Tay, people say it, I'm like, what letter is that? Because the accent is so different, But like I said at the start, when I was learning and when I couldn't speak very well, I would speak with a fully Southern accent at the time. So,
we are covering nothing that I prepared for. All of the questions I wrote, we have not even touched one thing, and I love it. I love it when conversation goes this way because you're surprised, and this is the way life goes. When things unfurl in a certain way, it's great. And one thing I do want to talk about is rapping.
yeah.
Your connection to the Vietnamese American content creators, like my boy Hui Farmer,
oh yeah. Oh, hey, he's Australian. He's Australian. You said American.
I'm so sorry. I meant Australian, Vietnamese Australian. I've had him on the podcast. What a riot that guy is. And so
yeah, bro.
You have this whole other side of your life of content creation that's wild as hell. It's not even, it's nothing compared to like what I came here to talk to you about, right? It's like, it's this whole other chapter. Like we found out like Snoop Dogg was an American diplomat before he became a rapper or something like that. I'm just saying it's
yeah.
far out of left field that
yeah.
I want to hear that journey, how you got.
Well, bro, firstly, when you do a lot of content, which I do, you're going to have a wide variety of stuff. And I'm the kind of guy, I don't do content because I'm like, or if I record the intro like this, it's going to be like this. Me and Howie are very similar in this aspect. We'll just open the phone and just see where it goes. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't, but I just cannot prepare content. I can't schedule. I can't follow a script. I hate it. Even when I MC weddings, like 500 people weddings, I don't prepare nothing. I just make sure I know everyone's name. That's it. I don't bring a script. I don't bring nothing. I'm just like, I feel too uncomfortable. And I feel like the more I try to remember a script, the more I'm going away from what I'm good at, which is just speak naturally and just feel the room and, and yeah, look, I have rap music videos. I have an English channel where I teach English. I make kids English learning videos. I make charity content. I got content of just doing stupid skits, everything. You name it, I've got it. But one of my most favorite things to do, and I was never with like a music label or anything like that. I purely made the music videos. I've done about maybe 5 or something. I made them. First reason is because the first one I made blew up. It really blew up and it did super well. And I was like, oh, okay. And a lot of people asked me like, can you make more? And I was like, whatever. And then I just found the whole process of having a big project for the first time ever, where you're like, you gotta write the song firstly. You got to get, I worked with Big Vu. I'm not sure if you know Big Vu, but Big Vu made the beats and things like that. And I just felt like involving different aspects, different people, and then putting it together with a music video, that we made fully ourselves. Like just get the Anam and a camera, and you always got that one Angam. He's got a camera and shit. And we're like, yeah, get it, bring out Jono, And then, so you just get all the boys together and then you'd edit the video and you'd post it as like a premiere on YouTube and you'd get all the boys around to watch. And I just loved it. I really became addicted to that process of working with a huge team. And then the most recent one we did with Hoey Farmer in it and Zipperhead, another young, really talented rapper in Australia. That was so much fun. We got Vietnamese from Sydney, Melbourne, and then we went to the Saigon Plaza in Brisbane and it was empty. And we just they just gave us the whole rooftop to film the music video. It was awesome.
Is that the one in the mostly gray tone? Is that the one it's like
Yeah. The most recent one. Yeah, you would have seen it on Instagram. Yeah, that one. And that one did really, really well on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, but not really well on YouTube for some reason. We all wrote, I wrote my bit, Howie wrote his bit, and Ziphead wrote his bit. Yeah.
Somebody laid the beats down and you guys just rapped over it and rehearsed?
That beat was just, yeah. Not even a whole bunch of times. Like we just all went around to Zipper's head and just laid it out. And I think, I love Zipperhead's verse in that, but Hoey's verse was good too. And see, for Hoey, he's similar to me as well, like in that way where he's very creative, but one day he'll be doing this stupidest content you've ever seen in your life. Next day he's doing like a serious music video or somewhat serious music video. And that's the cool thing. You never know what you're going to get, right? But with music, I'm the same. Like I love drill rap. I love Australian drill rap. I don't get into much American, but old American rap I love. But then at the same time, like while I'm here, I listen to Yu Fung and Pham Trung and Nhạc Vang, Nhạc Trẻ, like all the even full on bolero music. It's one of my favorite things to listen to. So, maybe I just have 10 personalities. I'm not sure, but I love it, man. And with the music videos, I would say looking back now, it's something I always come back to and I'm like, man, I'd love to make another one. It's just such a fun experience.
Far out. I'm sitting here thinking oh, these take months to prepare. When you look at the thing and you're just the flow is just on point when you're
yeah,
when you're spitting these rhymes, it's wow, this is really good stuff. It's fun stuff. So
I think I'm good at it, bro. I think I'm good. And I think it comes from being a kid, 10 years old or 12 years old, buying Eminem Encore and opening up the lyrics booklet and reading it 100 times over every song, playing it until your mum tells you, shut the hell up, turn it off. That, when I was a kid, I was obsessed with rap. I think a lot of us were when we were kids. So maybe that's what it's from. But then what I loved about it was mixing in Vietnamese and making it English and Vietnamese rap. And I think such a niche audience, right? But I never made it because I was this is going to blow up. I made it because I was this is such a cool, what I call landmark pieces of content where you're 5 years from now, you watch it back and you go, oh my God, that's terrible. But it's such a fun experience. I watch it with my kids. My kids know all the words of my songs. And I'm that's a cool, landmark content.
Right. It's amazing. Where do you actually spend most of your time now?
Bro, at the moment, I just moved to Hanoi because I opened a export-import company in Vietnam. Also have an export company in Australia. So we're going to send stuff to ourselves here and then send things from here back. We actually at the moment have coconuts from Ben Chair going back to Australia. So I have been in Hanoi for a month. I'm now in Soc Trang, which is my wife's hometown in Minh Tay. And this is my favorite place, man. I just love chilling out here.
Why Soc Trang?
But my wife's hometown.
Why is it your favorite?
Bro, I just don't know, man. It's just one of those things how did you learn Vietnamese so easy? I don't really know. I just come in, I have a very genuine sense of, I had a lot of traumas, business related, personal related. I had a really hard block of time. And then when I came to Vietnam, that the reason that I loved it was that feeling of you feel truly welcome. You feel truly welcome and you feel truly relaxed. And that's when I found I was able to step out of the trauma and to start looking at life again. And when I come to here, even though the first time I came here, a lot of people knew me online from TikTok and things like that. But for the most part, you're pretty much left alone. And I just felt super, super relaxed. I felt like I can just lay down here in a hammock and just chill out. And, there's only been a few times in my life where I had that. And then ever since that moment, whenever I come back here, I associate this place with, oh, I'm going to go there. I'm going to feel amazing for the week. I'm going to, and I get on the bikes and I just go in whatever direction I feel like. And you go and you find some really tiny community out that farms rice out there, and you sit there for 2 hours. And then at last time I went out to the beach where they farm fish and all those sorts of things, and I just chilled out there. And everywhere you go, you meet someone new that does something that you don't know about, and yeah, it's just there's not much happening like there is in the city. So everything's kind of at your own pace, and wherever you want to go, whatever you want to do, you just go. And it's a true freedom. It's a true feeling of freedom for me here. And I guess that's why I just love it when I come here, because I go, oh, cool, I'm down for another week of true freedom. You know, who wouldn't be, right?
Yeah.
However, in the future, I got a massive project, which I'm not legally allowed to talk about until the end of the year. But as soon as I can, I will. But for this project, I'll be in Saigon for about a month next month. Then I'll be in Baybak and a few kind of the country areas in the north, and I'll be moving around for the next year pretty much. But I have a house rented in Hanoi, so I guess that's home base at the moment for me.
How did you meet your wife?
Good story. So my friend rings me up and he goes, bro, there's a singing contest at the university, and I want to go in it, and you got to come with me because then I'll win. And I was like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, it's for Vietnamese people. I'm like, but I'm not Vietnamese. He's like, no, I checked. You're allowed to go in it still. I was like, okay, whatever. No, this is in Australia, in Brisbane.
What year? How long ago?
2020. Yeah, 2020.
All right. So there's a singing competition.
A singing competition. He goes, come along. We're going to win if you go in it. And I was like, fuck, what song are we going to sing? He's like, we're going to sing this song. Just try and remember the lyrics. And I was just like, damn, this ain't going to go good.
It's a Vietnamese cat.
Yeah. He's a good friend of mine. He's like a brother. His name's Quang. He was one of my very first, if not the first Vietnamese friend that I had, actually. And to this day, he's my brother. But he goes, yeah, we're going to go in this singing contest. And I was like, oh, man, all right, whatever. You know, like I'm a pretty easygoing guy. So I was like, all right, let's do it. Anyway, we go along and we sing, and we sing terribly. Like, I'm not a singer. We also forgot the lyrics, and it just capitulated basically within about a minute. But then, you know, the judges, which at the moment, you know Chong Ali, right?
No. Chung Ali.
Oh, Chong Ali, bro. He's done tracks with Hoey. You know the Viet Gang song that Hoey Farmer put out? Well, that was with Chong Ali. He is probably one of my favorite rappers of all time. Even though he's like a niche Vietnamese rapper, probably one of my favorite of all time, who I still listen to daily, every day. He's in my mix with he's got some great tracks, man, especially for Viet Kiel. He's got some great tracks. Anyway, he was one of the judges who I didn't know at the time. You know, and a couple other people. And then I guess they saw at the end of the song when they were like, you know, they were judging our performance. I spoke really well or really entertainingly. So they were like, hey, do you want to come back and be the MC of the grand finale? And I was like, cool, because the girl who was emceeing our trial run that we were doing was like the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. And I said, as we walked in to my friend Quang, I was like, hey, I know all the Vietnamese here. I don't know that girl. Who is that? And he's like, I don't know. Who cares? And I was like, no. Who is that? She was beautiful. And I was like, okay, whatever. I was like, well, we're here for work, so let's focus on the job at hand, right? But then they were like, hey, do you want to come back and be the MC of the grand finale? And she was going to be also. So I was like, yeah, whatever it is, I'm down. Like, let's do it. And then from there, she was about to be running out of her visa in Australia, and she had planned to come back to Vietnam to open a business. And on that night, which is the first night we'd really properly met, I was like, no, you can just stay in Australia. I'll marry you. And she was like, what?
Wow.
I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess I'll shoot myself now. And then we just stayed in contact a little bit. But she wrote me a message. She was like, okay, mate, I'll see you soon or something. And I was like, oh, damn, she dropped the mate on me. Like, that means like friend, right? So I just ghosted her from there. I was like, I don't need to be told twice, you know, have a good life, whatever. And then, maybe a month after that, she was like, hey, would you like to go out and get some food? And I was just like, yes. And then from that moment, we never were apart.
Oh, what a beautiful story.
Yeah, it is. And now we have two half Vietnamese, half Aussie kids, and yeah, we're very very lucky. But she's a real one, man. She went through a lot of hard times with me, and she's just that true, just, Vietnamese women are, unfortunately for us men, I got to say this, but Vietnamese women are the backbone of this country, man. They are on another level, man. And I'm so proud that she's my kid's mum. She's a weapon, absolute weapon.
Wow. I'm so touched to hear that. Yeah, I agree with you.
Bring some feelings for you.
Yeah, no,
Was
absolutely.
your mom like the kind of the weapon character in your life? Was your mom kind of that? They're a
Yeah,
special people, man.
yeah. It's
Hard people.
unconditional, yeah. Unconditional love for the family, Not all of them are like, not all Vietnamese women are like that, but for the most part, the ones that have lived that life are, and
Yeah.
travels throughout the world. You could see that way of being, and it's hard to explain. It's very, very hard.
You-
It sounds misogynistic when it comes out of a man's mouth.
Bro, but you got to say it though, and this is a it's a touchy topic in the West, right? But
Yeah.
for me, right, and people go, you that's sexist or whatever. But here's the reality of it, right? Is that we were designed by God or whoever designed everyone who's listening. You can have your own designer, but we were designed by God, right? And man, I'm really good at I can work 7 days straight with no sleep, no food, and I can get through it, right? I can carry 50,000 stresses and still get my job done and everything's fine. However, if I'm here with 30 minutes with my own children alone, I will throw them off the balcony. I can't do it. I cannot do it. I don't have the ability to do it. And women, particularly my wife, she has this for the children. She has this fuse, never ending fuse. Like they can just throw it on her. And she'll do the classic snap, like raise the voice and like, classic Vietnamese style. However, she makes the meanest food every day. She never buys herself anything. She never does anything for herself. Everything is purely to make the kids happy, make sure that I'm happy, and everything is always done to maintain the family unit. And if I take her out of that, like if she goes to work and does all these things, it's not happy anymore. She's not happy anymore. And it's not because of any sexist reason. The reason is because there is a true beauty in that, in being the homemaker. Like you are the rock of the family. And I said it to her many times myself in some of my hardest times, like you need that wife that's just there for you. And you go home and no matter what shit storm you are facing in your life, you go home and you got some fresh pho or you got some fresh meal made for you and your kids are happy. Oh man, that is invaluable. No money in the world can buy that. No matter how rich you are, nothing can buy you that. And that to me is a very special thing. And it's not about the man does this and the woman does this. It's about together. We are the family unit. This is my role of the family unit and this is your role. But there's a real camaraderie aspect to it where it's like, shit, she's had a messed up day with the kids. She didn't sleep last night. She's got this going on, and we got to come into bat for a bit and help out, and vice versa. She goes, man, my husband's been he's been fucked up this month with work and all this, and she'll even come in and chip in on other things that I need to do, and that's the way it should be, man, in my opinion. And it has nothing to do with because men are this or because women are this. It's just the way it is, man. And that's what she's good at. And I'm good at what I'm good at. And it's a beautiful thing, man. It's really beautiful to have a proper family unit like that. And I mean, that's in many ways the culturally speaking, that's the way it was for a long time in, I guess, Vietnam and many other places. And I get it now, man, because yeah, even my wife, when in the instances where I've needed her to come in and work in my businesses in any capacity, it just throws everything else out. And I hate it. I'd rather keep her doing what she loves to do, which is, you know, doing things for the family and being there for the family. And also she has her own little, her own projects going on and stuff too. But once I take her out of it and I bring her into this, you know, work and into my stresses, I just feel the whole family suffers, you know? So I'm like, whatever it is, I'll just do that, and I'll pull help from somewhere if I need it, but I'm never touching that family unit again. It's not worth it. I want to leave that family unit, because that is the rock for any man who maybe is, maybe doesn't have a family yet or anything like that. Is, in my opinion, that is the rock for any man, like that you can stand on to fight any troubles coming your way. If you have that rock, man, you're good, because once you walk in your house and you close the door behind you, you're back in your happy, non-affected realm of where your family just loves you and you love your family. And then when you go back out the door, okay, then worry about the shit storm going on. But at least for when you're in your home, you have that sanctuary of a loving family.
Ethan, this conversation has been surprising, and it's taken on a lot of different directions and life of its own. We are up on time, but what I want to do is I want to invite you to constantly reach out, you know, especially the project that you have coming up at the end of the year. It sounds like you're under NDA, and it sounds like a thing, but contact me, and, you know, let's keep in touch and have you back on. And, you know, there's so many recurring guests that I have now that we get to learn about Vietnam through your eyes and ears, through your experience. And my platform is the place that a lot of Vietnamese Americans and people who are not even Vietnamese learn a lot about what goes on in Vietnam through the eyes and ears of somebody like you. So thank you.
Bro, I really appreciate the opportunity to come on here, and I definitely will, bro. I definitely will reach out. And yeah, like I said, it worked out really good because this is Lunar New Year and I'm off work at the moment. But any moment I have, I'm always happy to share things. And even like I said, yeah, with that big project that's coming out and things like that, I think a lot of Vietnamese overseas will be interested as well. So definitely I'll reach out to you, brother. And thank you very much again for your time, man.
Ethan, chúc mừng năm mới.
Yes, chúc mừng năm mới nha.
Come on, em.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to The Vietnamese with Kenneth Nguyen. Special thanks to Brittany Tran, to Jane Nguyen, Catherine Nguyen, Tina Pham, Sydney Jamie, and Christo Trin. Please find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at The Vietnamese Podcast.